Hello Animorphs fans and welcome back to the Animorphs Reviews YouTube channel. I today did the review for this thing, the graphic novel version 2, The Visitor, and I really enjoyed it. And since I did the review, I thought I'll go now see other people's reviews and see what they think. Yesterday I did a live stream, which is my drinking game for the week, which means that I've got no videos to go up on Wednesday. So I thought, why not just have myself watching a review and get a video up for Wednesday? Kill two birds with one stone. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to sit back with a cup of tea and watch GeekTruth64's review of the graphic novel and see where I agree or where I disagree with him. So let's just sit back, relax, and yeah, have some fun watching this. Get yourself a cup of tea, get yourself your Animorphs Graphic Novel version, whether it be the paperback or hardback, and let's see what GeekTruth64 had to say about this. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description. Awesome chap, you should go check him out. In fact, I'm going to leave a like on this video, even though I haven't even started watching it. I might dislike it so much that I punch my screen. No, I won't do that. All right, so let's go.
Hi guys, GeekTruth64 here, and today I'm coming at you with an Animorphs review. This is the Animorphs Graphic Novel number 2. I have reviewed the first one, which was released a year ago, so at this point these seem to be releasing on a yearly basis. This is the adaptation of Book 2 from the original Animorphs book releases, so we're going to talk about this today, kind of share some of my thoughts, a little bit of a review, a little bit of a discussion, and just talk about Animorphs, which is something that I really enjoy. Obviously, I'm animated today because, I don't know, why not? I just figured I'd do something different.
Disgraceful. Disgraceful that you would be animated.
Share my Animorphs collection,
I've got these bookend bits. That's awesome.
Shelf here with all my books. These are the books I had.
He's got all the rare ones at the end, the 50s.
When I was a kid. I got some of the VHSs and the...
Oh my god, I've never actually seen Part 4 VHS advertised. That's pretty awesome.
Video games there, as well as a little action
got
figure
the
and the
board game.
Board game, which is actually fairly decent.
He's got a Mr. Go! He's got a Mr. Go! Yes, nice one.
Believe it or not, the board game's better than the video games, but of course, then up top we got these graphic novels, right? 1 and 2. So of course we're going to be talking about 2 today because I do want to support this book and Animorphs. So while I will have some critiquing in here, just like I did in the first one, I do just want to start by saying if you're an Animorphs fan, obviously this is a recommend regardless of...
I agree completely. Recommend you get this.
So we're going to go ahead and jump right into the book. I'm going to talk about some panels and some things in the book that I kind of have some critiques.
That was my computer, by the way. That wasn't yours.
They're actually really cool and some things, but I'm obviously not going to go too deep into actually showing the book because I want you guys to actually go and buy it. At the end, I'll give you my my thoughts. I actually have some pretty interesting thoughts that you may not expect. At the end.
I look forward to it.
Stay tuned after we look through the book for those thoughts. So I'm going to go through and show you a few things from the books and kind of comment on them, some input on what I have to say, some critiques, and just kind of some things I wanted to talk about. We open up the book and they're all in their bird of prey morphs, and somebody's shooting at an eagle. This guy really wants to take out this eagle. I don't know what kind of people these are that want to shoot eagles. But one of them's name's Chester. Sorry for anybody named Chester out there.
It's not easy being cheap.
There's this shot at first that I thought was really cool, just the way it was done, but then you actually kind of look at it and it looks like the eagle's flying away from instead of flying toward.
I didn't notice that.
The eagle's actually flying at the truck, not away from the truck. Just strange positioning there. It looks cool on the outset, but like when I was reading, I was like, wait a minute, that looks strange. And of course, Chester has a toothpick just to show you that, you know, this guy is, this guy's a bad dude. He's got a toothpick in his mouth. Morphing is once again great in this. Chris.
Yeah, that's something I didn't actually cover in my review, but one thing that I should have done, the morphing
Brian, the artist, does really good.
In this one is awesome. I think much better, a big improvement on the first book.
Good job of portraying the morphing being this really creepy, disgusting thing that happens. And I think he does a really good job in the first book, and he does a really good job here in the second book as well, because everything's random when they morph, so it's always kind of creepy. But with that being said, he also does a good job of actually doing something that's in the books that is not always mentioned as well is that Cassie has a innate morphing ability. So when she morphs, she can kind of more or less control how the morph plays out. This panel here, she just has his wings and she's basically still a human. Now she can't really stay in that form, but the whole point is to show she's actually really good at morphing, which is a cool ability and something that I don't think they really capitalized on so well in the books. I was very confused by this specific panel because I guess this is supposed to be in reference to something. This is Marco saying, "Hey Jake, you want to hang out for a little while? Maybe play some games or have a snack? Maybe nachos?" And I'm assuming this is Rachel because she says, "Shut up, Marco. Funny but gross, Marco." What is that in reference to? There's no mention of nachos or a joke about nachos anywhere else in...
I think US Dutch Kitty says something here. Nachos is a reference in the first book shortly after Jake went lizard and ate the spider. Get that spider taste out of your mouth. Okay, so it must have been a reference to the first book.
The book. I went back and read it, and I didn't see anything. I have no idea if that was supposed to be in reference to something that I'm completely missing. Maybe the fact that when they morph, it makes crunching chip noises, which is mentioned in the original books, but isn't actually mentioned in this book anywhere. So maybe that's supposed to be what it's in reference to. I don't know. I went back to the original book, and this line is not in that book either. So I have no idea what this thing is in reference to.
It's just Chris Grind doing Chris Grind things.
Comment and let me know. And we get the return of Chester from the beginning of the book, and he's running after Rachel.
I didn't really like this decision.
Wants her number or something. He's being a real creep. And he's like, nobody runs from Chester when he's talking to you. And this guy, just look at this.
He's not very intimidating.
The least intimidating person ever.
Yeah.
He refers to himself in the third person.
See, this is one of my biggest problem with the graphic novel is that whole scene just became so much less intimidating. I don't know why Chris Grind made the decisions he did, but it didn't pay off as far as I'm concerned.
So properly done making fun of this idiot. This one, Easter egg, I noticed immediately was Apple Grant Bookshop, which is obviously in reference to Catherine Applegate and Michael Grant, who are the creators of the Animorphs series and writers. So I thought that was kind of a cool thing. There was a little bit of a discrepancy here because as she comes out of morph after scaring Chester, the Cheeto, away, she morphs her clothes again. Which obviously they reference it in this book and in the previous book and all the original books, was that they can only morph skin type clothes.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
A little bit.
Because in the book, she didn't morph as much as... Because here, it's pretty obvious that she's gone full elephant. Which means that her clothes would have been completely shredded and then she's more... Yeah, that doesn't make sense. That's a good spot, Geek Truth.
Bit of a continuity error there. And like they obviously show the fact that she busted through her shoes, but again, she's morphing back like sweatpants and
yeah, that's a good point.
Like a sweatshirt.
I missed that.
You can't actually do in Animorphs. And just look at this face from Chapman. It just screams mustache twirling villain, just creepy. Oh, I know where you live.
Mustache twirling. Mustache twirling. We all like a bit of mustache twirling.
Great creeper face, A++. I thought this panel was cool because she's talking about a scary show, and I feel like this has got to be Goosebumps. It might be Are You Afraid of the Dark, but I feel like this may be in reference to Goosebumps, which is obviously another Scholastic property. It would have been funny if they just went ahead and said it was Goosebumps, but I just thought this was cool, so I wanted to comment on it. Marco, cat versus mouse. Who would you bet on? Cassie responds, based on all the cat and mouse cartoons I've ever seen, definitely the mouse. Well, this isn't a cartoon, Cassie. It's a graphic novel, okay? Amazingly disgusting nightmare fuel splash page here.
That reminds me, I want to point out my fate, because I didn't do this in the review either. I really should have given myself notes to read for my review. But my favourite panel or image in the whole book is this one. The one with Chapman looking up at those ships descending upon him. That's my favourite image of the whole book. It's really well done.
this is great. This is a great way to get put across the kind of nightmare that Rachel's having after morphing into a shrew, because the Animorphs are still getting used to dealing with the animal instincts when they morph, and because this is only book 2, so they haven't quite grasped the all the nuances of controlling those things yet. Now, this is a full page picture, which is really great to just focus in on Visitor 3 and the presence that he has, because he demands an entire
Look at that chin
when he appears, which is cool. Very well done. Good perspective here coming down from the bottom as Rachel is in cat morph viewing up at Visitor 3. Again, very intimidating. My only problem with this is that the Andalite eye stalks are forward. This is mentioned multiple times in the books, and Axe talks about it in almost every book he's on. The reason why they have these eye stalks are so they can get a 360 maintain.
Yeah, I actually noticed this. No, for fuck's sake, I actually noticed this as well. I was reading this. Every time the Visser's on, his eye stalks are pointing directly forward. They're just like static every single time he's on paper. Every time. And yeah, just every single one. His eye stalks never move, which is, yeah, it doesn't feel right. And I think that's what Geek Truth's about to say.
Basically a 360 degree view.
It's basically like the TV show. He's got the TV show at the back there, but it's exactly the same. The eye stalks just don't move anywhere.
Of what's happening around them at all times. So very rarely, if ever, do they have all 4 of their eyes all focused on in one direction. Now, you could make the argument that this is happening because, just to, intimidate Chapman, but
it's in every book,
he never moves his eyes.
Exactly, never moves
multiple pictures where you see his eyes, and his eye stalks never move. They just look like antennas just sitting there.
Yep.
So that is one criticism I would have, and hopefully Chris Grun kind of catches up on that, because one of the best pictures, visual representations of an Andalite is in the Visitor Chronicles, in my opinion, because if you look at the back, his eye is looking backwards. That's the whole point of having these eye stalks, is that they maintain eye contact.
I never noticed that. Geek Truth knows his shit.
Prey. There's lots of predators on their planet that are very large and can kill them. So that's why they develop these eye stalks. So anyway, just kind of a random side note for Animorphs fans.
It does make me wonder how much of the series Chris Grine has actually read. It really does, because if he had read the full series, it's mentioned on numerous occasions that eye stalks are constantly on the move. So the fact that he's always drawing eye stalks like pointed perfectly upwards, looking straight ahead, sort of like they are on the book covers. So when you got Axe doing a pose on the front, his eye stalks always seem to be looking forward, as far as I can remember. So maybe he just gets his cues from that.
And the way Andalites are portrayed.
That would also explain what... Sorry to keep pausing it, but that would also explain if he hasn't read further than he has to. That would also explain why, when he's done the Hawk-Bajia, they clearly aren't arboreal. Because surely, if he knew that the Hawk-Bajia are arboreal, if he read, say, book 13 onwards, he would know, okay, so these animals are arboreal. Might want to make them anatomically arboreal, or at least close to being able to climb a tree. But no, they're clearly not arboreal in the graphic novel, at least by design.
So he kind of looks more like an Endorian to me.
A what?
It looks like stationary antennas and not really eye stalks. Now this, I thought, was a really cool scene where Visitor 3 turns into this worm-like creature and literally can take his tongue and pull the yerk out from around the brain. Holy crap. This is a terrifying scene. Yerks would obviously be terrified of Visitor 3 if he was able to just change into this thing and do this. What a terrible way for the yerk to go out. But man, nightmare fuel. This I thought was a really nice moment, as Rachel as the cat is kind of comforting Melissa, who realizes that there's stuff going on with her parents and that they're not the same as they used to be, but obviously doesn't know about yerks or anything. So she just wanted to make her feel better. I just thought this was a pretty nice scene and nicely drawn as well. Chris Grine is just really good at drawing animals. he nails drawing animals. Again, like I said in reviewing the first book, the cartoony style of the humans isn't necessarily my style, but I will say as these books have gone on, now even with the second one, is I've kind of gotten used to them.
Yeah, same with me. I wish
he'd differentiate some of the humans a little bit more, because again, my same complaint as before, that they all seem to be fairly similar. But luckily there's not a whole lot of people. This is a pretty condensed story here, really focusing on the Animorphs and the Chapmans, so it works out really well here because everybody looks fairly distinct anyway. I just thought this was a really good scene because Chapman's taken the cat, and
I noticed when I was reading the eyes on Melissa's mother, creepy as anything.
Is disappearing with it, and obviously Melissa's upset about it, and you just get this creepy shadowy figure, which is her mom, saying, "Come back inside, your father has business to deal with." It's just a really nice scene, and you kind of feel for her because again, she has no idea what's going on. She just knows that there's something wrong with her parents. The other thing this scene does really well is something that I think I wish was done a little bit more, which is really telling the story more through the visual medium. There's obviously plenty of aspects in the book where that's the case, but telling the story through the art is kind of one of the quintessential things that is required of comic books and graphic novels. And because this is kind of an adaptation of a book and is pretty much a straight adaptation, a lot of what happens in the book is told and explained through the dialogue, less so than the art. That isn't always the case, but I feel like it does kind of keep Chris Grine from really telling as much of the story through the art as possible. But I think he does a pretty good job. I think as far as telling the story through the art and this book, he does at least as good as the first time, if not better. Again, your hands are just kind of tied when you're doing an adaptation like this.
We'll see, because the first two books are very plot heavy. As we progress through the series and things become more introspective, that's when it might get a bit more difficult. And I think book 3, I mentioned this in my review, book 3 is going to be really telling how he handles that introspective internal monologue sort of stuff dragged out over the majority of a book. We'll see how he does with it.
Hopefully he continues to kind of tell more of the story through the art and less reliance on the actual dialogue to explain what's going on. I will say there's a couple really cool splash pages leading up to Chapman bringing the cat as he's climbing up the hill, and the Yerk bug fighters show up.
Yeah,
very cool. I'm not going to show it here because I want to entice you to get the book. Now, there is a part here where Visitor 3 grabs Chapman by the neck and is choking him, right? And he threatens to basically chop his head off. Andalites have very weak arms. That's one of the things that's...
he never grabbed him by the neck in the book.
Their arms are fairly weak. They rely basically on their tail for all of their defense. Really, they just use their arms for, computer input,
dexterity,
things like that. They actually allude to the fact that they can't even throw rocks. So obviously their arms are fairly weak. So I thought this was kind of weird. This is stuff that only like hardcore Animorphs fans are probably going to notice and care about. But I just figured I'd mention it. And finally, I just wanted to mention this scene right here because this is very Visitor 3. This is definitely like how Visitor 3 comes across in the books. He's just as this big, evil, quintessential cartoon villain. He's very cartoon villain-esque. He's not exactly the smartest. He's just basically got his position by being super ruthless, viewed as being smart for being able to capture an Andalite body and being the only Yerk to be able to do that. And we finally get some more of the Toxin, which again, I think that the Toxin, at least they look more reasonably sized here. The Toxin are fairly large. This was part of the problem I had with the first book.
They were massive, and the Hawkbajir were too.
Toxin were too large in comparison to how they're described in the book. But Visitor 3 is just evil.
Yeah, there's a massive size difference. So from that perspective, Visitor 3 is equal to, or even potentially taller than the Toxins, whereas in the pool scene from book 1, the Toxins are like towering twice as high as humans and like 5 times as wide, so there's a bit of a size
2 minutes
difference
to
there.
lift off. What are you talking about? That's too long. I'm just going to decapitate you because I'm Visitor 3 and I'm an evil, mean man. Yeah, just ridiculous. I love that kind of stuff. That's great. Obviously, at the end, we get a cool Visitor 3 morph, one that we haven't seen, where he turns into like this cool rock-like monster. And they kind of, well, they don't really fight it. It's more like you run away from it because it's a giant rock monster. So you do get some good action there towards the end, which works out well. There's even the really good scene where the toxin are actually just, it shows their insatiable hunger, which is the thing with toxin, and I think that that's really cool that he was able to fit that little panel in to kind of show that, because that's a very important thing to their characters or their species, is they are insatiable hunger. Really, that's kind of the only thing about their species other than being terrifying looking. I mean, it's described in some of the books that some of them, who whenever they lose control or get too hungry, they start eating themselves, like literally eat their own body. So yeah, pretty creepy.
Yeah, toxins are crazy.
Aliens. In conclusion, I think the real drawback of this series is the fact that this is a visual medium, and I mentioned this in my first review when I talked about it. This is a visual medium, and because of that, when you have a heavy dialogue-driven story, such
I think this is going on to what I talked about.
Animorphs book, which even as a kid, I really thought was fairly boring. There's not a whole lot that happens in it. It's certainly not a bad story, but it doesn't lend itself so well to the visual medium. Now, I think the first book did a better job of that, but that was still a criticism that I had in the first book, was that, you know, utilizing the visual medium of the graphic novel, of the comic book. And the second one, you know, I think Chris Grind does a pretty good job with what he's given to really work with, because there's not a whole lot of opportunities to really get any action or, you know, visual splash pages there. And when he does utilize it, I do think it works well, but I just think he's really tied to the fact that it's based on a story that's very dialogue driven. Unfortunately, it doesn't always lend itself as well to the graphic novel format, but I'm really looking forward to book 3, because
that's going to be interesting. Book 3,
you really get, as the Animorphs figure out more of how they're going to fight the Yeerks and how they morph and all of that, and getting more into the moral issues that the books are pretty much known for. As you're getting more into that, I think it's really gonna let Chris Grind really open up and tell better stories. One of the things my criticisms early on is that when you're adapting these early Animorphs books, it is good for readers coming on, but again, it ties your hands. If you skip to book 20, 21, 22, which is the David trilogy, that's a really great story that I think would lend itself very well to the graphic novel format. And I wish they just kind of just kicked off doing these graphic novels from that point, because I think that would really catch good readers on. There's a lot of action in it, a lot of dialogue. It's very story driven. There's a lot of moral conflict and just a lot of really cool things that I think would lend itself to the visual medium that unfortunately it doesn't so much lend itself in this second.
It's a very good question of which ones will be better translated. He's obviously just gone into that for a while, and I've just been listening in, trying to get a grasp on it. But yeah, it'd be interesting to have a think about which books will be extremely difficult to translate into a graphic novel. Off the top of my head, something like book 41 would be good for a graphic novel, because that's constantly changing scenarios and there's always action going on, and you get like zombies or dead things in there. That would be a good one. Whereas what would be an example of a book that wouldn't translate so well? Maybe The Forgotten, potentially. But now that would give them a chance to really use the background scenery to make an effect. Oh, an example of book 33. Book 33 probably won't translate well. I think it's a crap book anyway, book 33, but I'm of a minority opinion there. But I think even people who like that book might agree with me that Chris Grind might struggle to adapt that one, because like around 2/3, half of the book is just Tobias in a box, That's all it is. What other examples? Trying to remember. I've got the books down there. Let's have a look. What other examples? Most of them should be pretty straightforward. I think 13 is a very dialogue heavy one, and a lot of it is just walking through the woods, so that might be quite a difficult one. Yeah, it's an interesting question.
Book. But I want to support these books. I think these books are great. I want to get more of these books. One of the reasons why I want to do this video, because there's not a whole lot of advertising that these graphic novels are out there. Some fans may not even know that they exist. So anything I can do to kind of push it out there. Book 3's already been confirmed. 4, 5, and 6 are confirmed, as long as the previous books sell well, which is a big reason why I pre-ordered this and got the hardcover, the highest price book, because I do want to support these books, and hopefully we can get more, because again, as we move forward, we're going to be able to get way better stories that lend themselves to the graphic novel format than really what we're getting here in book 2. But book 2 is a necessary book to do if you're actually going through.
It is a very necessary book.
Those are just kind of my final thoughts here on book 2. If you were an Animorphs fan, I do have a couple videos that I'm recommending there at the end of this video that'll be tacked on, so please check those out. For everybody who's checked out this book, let me know what your thoughts are down below. I really just want to thank everyone for checking out this video, and thank you subscribers, because you guys are awesome. And if you like this video, please like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube
Awesome stuff.
I'm not a beggar. I'm GeekTruth64, and I'll always tell you the truth.
Well, you've given us the truth. So let's pause that. Awesome video, GeekTruth64. So go check out his channel. If you've watched this and you've enjoyed it, please go to his video and leave a like. And then go check out those videos that he's recommending there, because he has got other Animorphs videos. So please go check out his stuff. And if you like his stuff, just go follow him, subscribe to him and all that. One thing I want to add to his video, and it's something I added to the end of mine as well. Something that I'm surprised he missed, because he was very much on it. But he missed the fact that they say at the end that they destroyed a bug fighter, and it was never shown in here. It was never shown to have happened, which I think is one of the biggest failings of this particular volume. But I've learnt a couple of things from his review there, a couple of things that I missed, which is great. So eventually I'm going to watch the Pop Arena one as well, but I think I'm just doing this one for the Wednesday video, since I have nothing else to upload on Wednesday, and I need to fill out the schedule. That's the way it is. I hope you've enjoyed your tea. I've just finished mine. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to go check out GeekTruth64, and remember to go order yourself these. The more we buy, the more we'll probably end up getting. I want to get to at least 13. I want to see that one turned into a graphic novel. Right, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Ta-ra!